Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about cutting your lining. I'm just going to very quickly give the example how I do it. Usually, so iron my lining, fold it in half, so make sure it's the right side is inside, and on the wrong side we're placing all our patterns. Quite often I don't place my paper pattern on top of the lining, but actually use already cut wool and place it on my lining. Make sure following all the straight of grain. The lining should repeat the straight of grain what's it's in your top fabric. Then trace all around with the pin it together so it stays together. Then trace it with the chalk because the seam allowance are exactly the same as in the top fabric, except your front panel. So you have to remember your front panel is divided into facing and lining. So make sure that is cut separately. So, and then you can see that I already done it. So pin it together and then just trace it all around and then cut it. So that's how often I do that. That is obviously depends how accurate you've done your seam allowance. So I usually do my absolutely precise. So I know it's all my seam allowance are matching and exactly 2.5 centimeters where it need to be and 5 centimeters where it need to be. So there's another way to do it is if you don't want to use your top fabric, absolutely fine, because otherwise you're not going to see your machining line. So you need to transfer a machining line that way. So you can use just your pattern as you did with your top fabric. So this is the side panel, exactly as you did with your top fabric. Make sure you're very economical with your lining as well. You don't want to go and waste the fabric. So you come as close as possible where you can, so to your fabric. Again, remember it's that is 2.5 seam allowance you need to have. So just get my tape measure. So you will have 2.5 seam allowance from the H, so that's, make sure I've got that as well. So just a little bit further because I've got 5 centimeters here. So you need to give a plenty of space here as well. And then of course 2.5 goes here and then 2.5 in the point. So make sure it reaches. And again, so it doesn't, because it's the way it's been folded and the way it's been cut my lining, one side is slightly longer than the other. So I need to make sure it's that my pattern positioned properly. A straight of grain, I will go with a straight of grain of my lining. So that's very important. And then pin it to the lining. And there we go, it's ready to trace around and mark your seam allowance. Okay, with the lining, yeah, so you trace all around, so make sure it's nice and flat. Make sure your chalk is very sharp. Okay, sharpen your chalk, so make sure it's only 1 millimeter, otherwise it will not going to be precise. So you trace that, just leave a little marks here, so it helps you to machine your lining together when you've got this one, those guidelines. They help you to put things together when you are machining lining. And then add simply at your seam allowance. So 2.5 goes around the seam, side seam here, 2.5, very precise. Tailoring is all about precision. 5 centimeters at the bottom. Again, write it down on your pattern. Your seam allowance for your lining as well, so you will remember it doesn't get to the 2.5 around the armhole, and then of course 2.5 on the side seam. So when that is all done, you check your part and then you cut it out. Again, I will advise you to place your pieces first before you cut them, just in case it doesn't fit. And then that way, you know, you've got plenty seam allowance everywhere, and also you're not wasting your lining. Please learn to be economical so you can recycle your stuff as well, very well, and economical with your fabric. So that's your aim as well, just in case if you needed to reuse the fabric, you would be grateful that you actually, you know, save some fabric. Okay, I hope this has helped. Cut it out now all around. There's your pattern. Exactly the same like we did in top fabric. Okay, continue doing with all your lining, cut everything as it actually helps. Usually, you know, it's absolutely fine to cut your lining before fitting, but if you're not sure, if you are finding actually that, you know, your model is quite difficult in the shape, then cut your lining after when you've done your fitting and you know what type of alterations need to be done. So then you can cut your lining after that. So good luck, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.